We are Calculum, and we're here today to talk about supply chains from a working capital perspective. And we really believe that supply chains are at an inflection point, and that inflection point in the physical supply chain is starting to produce some very significant and accurate signals. And what we look at from the financial perspective is how you are negotiating and calculating and analysing payment terms. So that's our mission. If I look at Treasury professionals today, you're familiar with the term mark to market. So any financial asset that you hold or are managing, you're looking for the market to tell you what the value of that asset is. So foreign exchange, treasury bills, whatever they are. If working capital is an asset, then should you not be able to mark that to market as well? And via payment terms, that gives you that opportunity. So if you like, the opportunity to be able to say, what is the average weighted payment term of these goods and services that I purchase in this country, in this region, and in this time frame? And today, for Treasury and Procurement, it's mainly done on a spreadsheet. And as everyone says and everyone knows, it's not a database. So what Calculum has built is the ability for you to upload and ingest your entire supply spend, be it 500 suppliers or 50,000 suppliers, and we have analysed that many, to get yourself an understanding of what can I achieve with working capital across the entire globe and across my entire supply chain. So what I'm going to do now is just show you a couple of screenshots of the platform, and hopefully you can understand from there. So it's a self-serve platform. It's as simple as a CSV file. We can do APIs, but the vast reality is people are still passing CSV files, and that's fine. You upload it this way. The first thing you want to be able to do is there any point doing anything? So comparing my DPOs to the market. Something fairly straightforward. You do that today, but it's been brought onto a platform here. So who am I comparing myself to? Am I comparing myself to the first quadrant, the fourth quadrant, the country average, the region average? Everything to give me a position as to, is it worth me pursuing anything? I can also compare to all my competitors and peers. And whilst that's a fairly straightforward thing, it gives you a good sense of where to start. The next stage is having ingested the suppliers here. There's something in this example, 1,500 suppliers. It tells me that I've got an average payment term across my portfolio of 46 days, and my buyer leverage across that portfolio is low, which doesn't mean there isn't opportunity within each individual supplier, but it's giving you a very accurate view as to your opportunity. It tells me how much spend, and I can chop and slice and dice the data anyway. So for example, in this slide, I can see exactly how much spend I have with strong credit-rated companies. I can see exactly what my payment terms are per commodity. And I can slice and dice the information any which way I do, 40 or 50 different ways. Whatever makes sense to you, whatever makes sense to procurement. It gives me an understanding of which of my organisations are spending and where, and a full list of each individual supplier, which we've enriched the data with credit rating on every single supplier. Now, if you think about this, normally you just analyse your top 150 suppliers because that's the available data. Again, what we're doing here is every single supplier in every single region and every single amount of spend you are to analyse just where the pockets of working capital opportunity are. When you're setting up the program, you can introduce supply chain financing, and you simply set up the tiers according to what the financing rates you wish to bring there. Equally in harmonisation, if you've got 1,500 suppliers, you don't want 1,500 payment terms. So this allows you to configure the platform, and our AI will analyse according to those harmonised groups. When you get to the results, you can start creating phases. So in this particular phase, I'm looking for 24 million in working capital over 90 days, and I could decide exactly which country, which region, which type of supplier that I'm going to invite to my phase one. And it will just simply go out and organise that for you. And I can run as many phases as I like. So rather than, one of the great challenges is in working capital is we see the big number, we see $200 million, $400 million. What you need to be able to see is per supplier, what is the opportunity? If there's any retailers in the room, they'll tell you that they make money by picking, dimes up off the floor. It's the same mentality here. Every single supplier analysed. So if I finally arrived in the platform, what we call our entity card, this is every single supplier, and it's telling me this individual supplier, I have an opportunity to move them from 43 to 75 days. How much that will release for me. And it gives me an overview of the supplier from a credit scoring perspective. I'll just go to there. And it'll tell me the data depth on this. So every platform, AI included, is only as good as the data. So we will always tell you, is the data adequate, is it substantial, or is it moderate data? Because you want to take that into the backdrop. I'm now moving from Treasury into procurement here, and this is one of the advantages of the tool. It's a collaborative tool between Treasury and Procurement. That old saying, Treasury counts the money, procurement gets the term extension. So in this particular instance, I have an understanding of the credit rating, I have an understanding of the quality of the data, and if you look right down the bottom, we've also got an ESG feed here. Now I want to say we are not ESG experts. I suspect there are not many in the room either. But it's becoming one of the most important aspects of procurement negotiation. For us, here at Calculum, having ESG data in some compliance database somewhere that you're doing a checklist isn't useful. We want to bring the ESG data down to the front and center where the negotiations with your supply chain are occurring. And as this information gets richer and people start figuring out what ESG means to me, the procurement people can start to understand how they incorporate that in their conversation. And so having looked at all the metrics, we then take to a negotiation screen. And this is telling me specifically how to negotiate with the supplier. So exactly what the ask is. The graph will tell me what my current terms are, what my proposed terms are, and if there are any regulatory terms in the country. So a very nice snapshot for a procurement person to understand. And finally, the great strength of the product is our machine learning creates a script. Time and time again, we've met with procurement people who say, Treasury, give us a spreadsheet. And whilst the numbers may be correct, there's no narrative. There's no story within those numbers that I can build. So our platform creates a messaging based on the data points, and it allows an organization to decide what it's going to base its narrative on. And that narrative will allow you to say, for example, I'm extending my payment terms to meet the peer group average. Or your DSOs are 90 days, means you accept longer payment terms. I'm going to move to that. This is a very quick overview. There's a lot more feature functionality in here. And before I go to questions, I know you don't need a statement from Warren Buffett or Richard Branson about the importance of cash. But I thought I threw it up there anyway, because what we're looking to do with corporations is to move them from a project-based mentality on working capital to a day-to-day part of the wallpaper that I should be able to be analysing my working capital opportunity at any point in time, given the backdrop, so I can compare myself to market on a regular basis and decide, instead of so much the big number, where can I find 10 million working capital in the next 3 months? Where can I find 20 million in the next 6 months? Where is it available within my supply chain and not just the typical large organizations? So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And by all means, any questions, greatly received and hopefully answered.